We're about to get into Tabnine office hours, where you'll learn everything you need to know about accelerating your software development lifecycle with AI. So let's get into what we're going to show you today. Chris, want to take us through this?
Yep, absolutely. We're going to cover a lot today. So here's what you can expect to learn in this session, starting with how to accelerate your entire SDLC with Tabnine, how Tabnine writes code like an engineer on your team. We're going to cover as well how to maintain complete privacy over your code and data, and how to have complete protection from IP issues and legal liability. We'll then be going into a live demo showing how Tabnine or how users will interact with Tabnine throughout the SDLC and doing a live application build. And then we'll be finishing things off with a live QA session. So let's just start covering with, let's talk about AI code assistants and their real business impact that they've been consistently delivering. They've proven to have a significant impact on developer productivity, engineering velocity, and employee satisfaction. And here's a few statistics we can share from some independent studies we've gathered. One is that AI reduces developer task time by up to 30% for code refactoring and 45% for code generation and 50% for documentation. Task completion by developers went up as much as 15% for medium complexity tasks and up by 30% for high complexity tasks. Developers reported being happy in their work went up 45% without AI to 88% with AI. The similar 2x increase in ability to focus on more meaningful work. And one independent survey of IT pros estimated that they could save more than 5 hours per week using AI to complete repetitive tasks. That equates to roughly 15K worth of time per IT worker annually. So based on our measures, that's actually a very low estimate of the value actually delivered. So with all of this, it's no surprise that one survey reported actually 78% of companies expect to use generative AI software development in the next 3 to 5 years. So the benefits to engineering teams are proving to be, abundantly clear. So what is Tabnine? Tabnine boosts code quality and developer happiness by automating the coding workflow, through AI tools. So Tabnine helps development teams of every size use AI to accelerate and simplify the software development process without sacrificing privacy and security. Tabnine boosts engineering velocity, code quality, and developer happiness, right, by automating this coding workflow through the AI tools customized to your team. So a couple of things I just want to draw attention to. We've pioneered generative AI for software development and are the originator of the AI code assistant category, launching our first product in 2018. And Tabnine is now used by over 1 million developers across thousands of companies in very highly regulated industries. And lastly, Tabnine also works with more than 600 languages and frameworks, and we support all the most popular IDEs, so we'll be able to meet you where you're comfortable.
Alrighty.
So unlike other coding assistants, Tabnine is the coding assistant that you control. And what do we mean by that? For one, it's private. You choose how to deploy Tabnine. You choose where and how to deploy Tabnine to maximize control over your intellectual property. And you can rest easy knowing that Tabnine will never store or share your company's code. The second bit is that it's personalized. Right? Tabnine delivers an optimized experience for each development team. It's context aware and can be tuned to recommend based on your standards. You can also create a bespoke model trained on your actual code base as well. And the last piece is it's protected. Tabnine's built with enterprise-grade security and compliance at its core. And we offer both indemnification and models trained exclusively on open source code. with permissive licenses to avoid any risk of IP liabilities. And in regard to indemnification, by nature, using Tabnine's models doesn't expose you to the risk of intellectual property infringement, but we support Tabnine Enterprise customers with the added protection of indemnification. Just want to go over really quickly. This is, Tabnine supports all of your favorite IDEs, right? Really want to emphasize that we will meet you where you feel comfortable, right? So VS Code, VS Studio, the entire JetBrains family. And then when it comes to our language support, we support the most popular languages, libraries, frameworks as well. Over roughly 600 languages, and frameworks are supported currently with an ever-growing list. Sweet. And now I'm going to hand it over to Amaya, who will cover these next sections. Amaya, take it away.
Thank you, sir. All right, so how to accelerate your SDLC with Tabnine. So first of all, Tabnine's AI code assistant makes creating and improving your code at every stage of the software development lifecycle faster and easier. And we do that through our AI agents and in-IDE chat, as well as code completions that help you with planning, creation, testing, deployment, and more. So let's go ahead and take a look at all our different AI agents and how we support the different phases. So overall, Tabnine is going to keep your developers in flow, letting them execute every single step of the SDLC without having to leave their IDE. And there's many ways to interact with Tabnine, which Chris is going to show you in our demo. But at a high level, there's two ways to accelerate your SDLC with Tabnine: code completions and interacting with a set of AI chat agents to execute specific tasks. So starting from the left, going to the right with the software development lifecycle, let's start with planning. So in the planning stage, we have the Tabnine Code Explorer agent, and that helps developers on-ramp onto a new project faster. So what this agent does is it provides a comprehensive overview of key project elements. That includes runnable scripts, dependencies, and overall structure. And rather than inundating you with an avalanche of information, the Code Explorer agent really acts as a knowledgeable guide that's going to present essential details while offering pathways for further exploration. And by suggesting follow-up questions tailored to your user's context and the task at hand, the Code Explorer agent is really going to empower your developers to chart their own course through every project's intricacies. Once you've developed an understanding of the project itself that you're working on, next step is to go ahead and start to create code. And there's a couple ways to do this with Tabnine. First, you can use natural language inside the chat, which is right in your IDE, to communicate with our AI and ask it to generate code that's based on your design specs. And you can use this to create software components, features, functionality, and a whole lot more. And Tabnine Chat's going to generate that code by understanding the local workspace context as well as code-based context of your project and repositories, and it's going to provide relevant code blocks. There's two other ways to create code with Tabnine. The first is through Tabnine code completions. You'll see this in the demo, but as you type, Tabnine will complete whole functions and classes for you, as well as single line and multi-line completions. And finally, the third way to create code with Tabnine is our recent product release, the Jira implementation and Jira validation agent. What this does is lets you integrate Tabnine with Jira. So when you log into Tabnine, you'll then see your various Jira tickets right inside your IDE, and you can reference specific Jira tickets and ask Tabnine to implement the ticket. Tabnine will read the context from the description and text of the Jira ticket and then execute code generation aligned to that ticket. You can also use the Jira validation agent to validate any code that you've created against the ticket, and Tabnine will ensure that it meets the requirements for that ticket and provide you with an assertion. Moving on into testing, the Tabnine test agent is going to significantly enhance your test coverage by automating the creation of comprehensive test plans. So what this one does is it generates test plans with detailed test cases for functions and methods. And you can use this on an existing test file, or if you don't have one yet, you can just ask Tabnine to create a test file for you. And what the Tabnine test agent is going to do is automatically generate test cases that cover a wide variety of testing scenarios. And each test case is going to include a short description in plain English. From there, you can review all the test cases Tabnine's suggested and ask Tabnine to select and implement the ones you want to deploy. Moving on to fixing code, something that might take you hours if it's a more complex fix, or just a couple minutes if it's something simpler that you can identify immediately. Tabnine's fix code agent will instantly fix any bugs and problems with your code. And you can interact with this using our code lens feature, which lets you select individual code blocks to fix, or you can even use Tabnine chat to simply prompt it to ask it to say, hey, where's all the errors in my code? It'll go and find the errors in your code. And from there, you can go and ask it to fix those errors in your code using the Tabnine chat. So it's a really fast way to fix bugs and errors. It literally takes seconds. This will save you a ton of time. So moving on from there, as you're getting into documentation, we have a documentation agent in the chat as well. And all you got to do there is ask Tabnine to create documentation, and it'll generate it. That includes formal docs of classes and functions for API guides. It generates comments as well as inline docs. And what's really cool about Tabnine is because we're the AI coding assistant that's personalized to you and your team, and we leverage our personalization engine, Tabnine is going to create docs that match your doc formatting style automatically. Finally, let's say you encountered some legacy code that you don't really know or understand that another developer wrote, or perhaps it's even your own code, and you've just been away from it for so long with all the tasks on your plate that you've kind of forgotten what it does. You can just ask Tabnine to explain that code, and there you have it, right? And finally, as you're moving on into maintenance, where a lot of developers are spending a ton of their time today, especially at enterprise organizations, all you got to do there is provide instructions in natural language, and Tabnine can help change code, fix a bug, add functionality, and refactor and translate code as well. So this is probably why you guys signed up for this one, to learn how Tabnine writes code like an engineer on your team. So let me just give you guys some context and background here. If you've ever used ChatGPT or something like that to generate code, you might have experienced this. So using an AI code assistant that's not sufficiently aware of your existing code base and coding standards, we like to say it's like hiring a well-trained software engineer off the street. Helpful and well-intentioned, but likely to create code that doesn't quite fit and needs to be modified to fit your application. And the reason this happens with LLMs is that the LLMs that underpin every generative AI tool today lack context and understanding. And in software development, if you don't understand the specific patterns and approaches that a company is taking, the recommendations in AI is going to generate are going to be accurate but generic. And that increases the likelihood that while the code meets the requirements, it'll need to be modified, sometimes significantly, in order to be accepted into your code base. That's where Tabnine really shines, because context changes everything. And our context engine really enables Tabnine to deliver more relevant, higher quality code recommendations. And when you layer in the right level of context, including local files, the code base of the project or company, and relevant non-code sources of information like Jira, for example, using Tabnine really starts to feel like you have a senior engineer with years of experience in your company sitting alongside each and every one of your developers. So this is a really great slide here that we like to share, and this is our 4 levels of optimization that we deliver. And how this works is through something we call progressive personalization. And this personalization makes sure that Tabnine generates recommendations that are relevant to your apps and your approach and fit your existing patterns and standards. And we achieve this through 4 levels of optimization: context, connection, coaching, and customization. So this all starts with the local context awareness inside the IDE. And you turn that on through toggling a button called workspace indexing in the Tabnine chat right in your IDE. Chris will show you that in the demo later. And Tabnine then starts to index the workspace and become aware of any open code in the IDE around a given project. And it's going to use that insight to guide how it responds. So what does Tabnine really index when you turn that on? Well, it's going to look at all locally available data in your developer's IDE. That includes variable types used by your developer near the completion point in the code, comments they've added, open files you've interacted with, imported packages, libraries, and open projects. Additionally, we've given you the power to specifically direct Tabnine to relevant pieces of context through using at mentions, which is just the at sign. So all you have to do there is, as you're talking to Tabnine in Tabnine chat, just use the at symbol to tag unopened files, classes, or methods directly into Tabnine chat to prioritize where it's drawing context from. And important to note here that simply by turning on the first level of our personalization, our average customers see a 43% in code acceptance rates. And what we mean by that is that code acceptance rates are really, let's say you've asked Tabnine to generate something and you've decided to implement it right away without needing any modification to the code. And that's a pretty significant lift in code quality just from the first level of optimization. The next phase from there is connecting Tabnine to your code and knowledge bases. So this is available on Tabnine Enterprise today. And what you can do is if you're a Tabnine admin, you can connect Tabnine to organizational sources of information. That includes code repositories, design documents, Jira tickets, and a whole lot more coming in on our roadmap pretty soon. And what this is going to do is significantly increase the relevance of code recommendations, code explanations, generated tests, and documentation. And moving on from here to our most recent launch, specifically our code review agent that falls under our coaching pillar. So Tabnine does coaching based on your standards. And what that means is you can provide Tabnine with explicit steering and constraints that dictate how Tabnine should behave in specific situations. And this enables the enforcement of specific standards or guidelines on any generated code, tests, or documentation. This is also where our code review agent comes into play. So how that works is you essentially give Tabnine a list of your rules written in natural language. And then Tabnine will enforce those code review rules, flag, prioritize, and offer suggestions to fix any issues found in your code during code review. And this is a really powerful feature. It's available on Tabnine Enterprise today in private preview. So for existing Tabnine Enterprise customers. And really what you're going to see from this is three things. One, you're going to spend a lot less time in code review. And two, the quality and security of your code is going to increase. And you're also going to be able to take your organizational sources of information and organizational knowledge and ensure that it's accurately applied across all of your code review consistently. Finally, the fourth level of optimization we offer is customization and fine-tuning of our underlying code completions model. So this really maximizes personalization of Tabnine to your organization. What we do here for you is create a fine-tuned or custom model for a domain-specific language or your organization's specific code base. And this effort creates a unique model that fine-tunes our universal code completions model with your own code. And if you want to do this, this does require that your organization curate sufficient amounts of high-quality training data for Tabnine, which is a non-trivial task. But there's two things to know that you got to have for personalization and customization to be warranted. If you want Tabnine to know a domain-specific language or domain-specific knowledge that's private to your organization, if all of your projects use internal libraries and infrastructure, or you have 3 million lines of code following those libraries and infrastructure, that's when we can execute model fine-tuning for you. And by the way, model fine-tuning is included in our Tabnine Enterprise plan and available on on-premise deployments. So that is always an option there. So let's move on into how Tabnine helps you maintain complete privacy of your code and data. So your data security is really important to us. So I just wanted you to know that when you're using Tabnine, your code always remains private and it's always safe. So today we're trusted by millions of developers and thousands of organizations worldwide to count on Tabnine to meet their data protection and data security needs. And to support that, we've developed a comprehensive set of practices and policies to help you ensure your data is secure. So the 4 policies there are zero data retention, safety first, flexible deployments, and control over your IP. So starting with the first one, we guarantee zero data retention. So your code and your usage data are never stored and they're never shared with third parties. Second, we offer proven enterprise-grade security that meets key industry standards. That includes SOC 2, ISO 9001, GDPR, and other regulatory requirements. You can also deploy Tabnine however makes the most sense for your business. So we offer SaaS deployments, VPC, or on-premise deployments as well. And we also give you the option of deploying Tabnine as a fully air-gapped model. And finally, when you're using Tabnine, you stay in control of your own IP. So we don't exploit our access to your code or your user data. All the personalization that we do is unique to your instance of Tabnine, and we never use your code, data, or behaviors to feed our general models. So when you're using Tabnine, you get personalization with no risk of privacy exposure or IP liability. Just wanted to walk you guys through the different deployment options available. So starting with Secure SaaS. This type of deployment is available for Tabnine Starter, Tabnine Pro, and Tabnine Enterprise customers. With a secure SaaS deployment, the solution is hosted, managed, and monitored by us at Tabnine, and it's frequently updated. And we're committed to maintaining the highest levels of security and privacy for our clients. So, with our SaaS deployment, we've implemented an end-to-end encryption system that ensures that communication between our client servers and our servers maintains and remains completely secure. And our security team continuously monitors for vulnerabilities. We also conduct regular audits. This ensures that our security infrastructure is up to the latest standards. So we're always going to handle our customers' data with the utmost care and security, even if you go with a secure SaaS deployment. So moving on into our private installations or self-hosted deployment options, there are three options here that are offered for Tabnine Enterprise. The first one is VPC. And in a VPC setup, the Tabnine cluster is going to be a Kubernetes hosted unit on your virtual private cloud. And the clouds that we support today include GCP, AWS, and Azure. And in this one, we don't have access to your customer environment, but we do periodic software updates in a controlled way. The next option here is a on-prem deployment, which is also available for Tabnine Enterprise. Similar to VPC, in this one, the Tabnine cluster is going to be a Kubernetes cluster that's hosted on your servers on your own private network. And finally, we also offer a fully air-gapped private installation. And whether you're going on-prem, VPC, or private install fully air-gapped, we do periodic software updates in a controlled way. So moving on into how Tabnine gives you the full benefits of AI without any legal risk. So with AI copyright law still unsettled and the potential IP liability of AI injecting unlicensed code into your code base, it's perfectly natural to be a little worried about the possible legal ramifications of adopting generative AI. So I just want to assure you that with Tabnine, you don't have to worry about that. And that's because our Tabnine protected proprietary models are exclusively trained on licensed code, and that frees your organizations entirely from legal risk. So how do we give you guys total protection over IP liability? Well, that starts with our Tabnine universal models. So these are state-of-the-art permissive open source LLMs that we've developed as a result of our involvement with the open source community. So we're regular contributors to many of the main open source LLM projects and models, and this really gives us an advantage when selecting the best ones out there. And really our clients trust us to curate every single option in the market for them. So we assure you that each time we update our universal model, it includes the latest and greatest. And being good open source citizens also allows us to have our proprietary add-on ready for any model. So our enhancements are entirely model agnostic, as you'll see in the next slide when I tell you about our switchable models capability. But before I get there, the models that we've developed in-house only use open source code with permissive licenses, and the licenses are actually just listed on the slide right here. We attribute all the code that we suggest when you're using Tabnine Protected to the full list of code bases used for training our model. We're also probably the only AI coding assistant that shares this model training data list publicly, and it's regularly updated in our Trust Center, which you can access on trust.tabnine.com. And we can guarantee that at the time of training the model, the licenses used only belong to the list in our Trust Center. So we never train Tabnine's protected models on data that isn't permissive. And this ensures that if you have a lower risk tolerance for IP liability, or that's something that is a sensitive area for your organization, you're concerned about that, you're completely safe if you use our Tabnine protected model against that. And finally, we offer enterprise customers the added protection of indemnification. So by nature, using Tabnine's models doesn't expose you to the risk of IP infringement, but we added support for Tabnine enterprise customers with legal indemnification against that. So the last point I wanted to make here is Tabnine offers complete model flexibility with our switchable models capability. So our proprietary models, which I spoke to you about, are fully private and protected. And if your company is really concerned about IP liabilities and privacy, we recommend just using Tabnine Protected. But we'd like you to know that Tabnine Chat includes the option of using third-party models. But the privacy policies and protection offered by these third-party models might be different from the Tabnine models. But we give you the insight that you really need to choose. So Tabnine users can select which chat model they want to use. And Tabnine enterprise administrators can control and specify the models that are available to their organization. And when you're making this decision, there's really three things you want to think about. First is performance. So do the set of models that you're selecting provide accurate, relevant results for the programming languages and frameworks that your team is working on today? Second is privacy. So you want to consider whether the third-party models you're using could store your code or use your data. Do they use that code or share it with third parties? And you'll want to consider whether or not your code would be used to train their models. Finally, the third thing to think about is protection. So what code was each model trained on? Are you concerned about whether it's been legally licensed? And are you concerned about creating risks for your business by accepting generated code from a model trained on unlicensed repositories? So we have a whole host of models available here today for you. Includes Tabnine Protected, Tabnine plus Mistral, as well as models from leading LLM providers, including Anthropic, Cohere, Mistral again, and OpenAI. And finally, let's say you already have a third-party LLM model. You have a private API endpoint for that at your company, or perhaps you've built your own LLM or small language model for that matter. Well, if you're using Tabnine Enterprise, we give you the option of connecting your own models to power Tabnine Chat. So as new and more innovation comes out in the LLM and SLM space, we continue to update our available models in the switchable models capability that ensures that you always have access to the latest and greatest with LLM innovation. So rather than continue on here with slides, I want to hand it off to Chris. He's going to take you through a full demo application build with Tabnine using every single one of the AI coding agents I just spoke to, and giving you a great insight into how to use Tabnine to accelerate and simplify your software development lifecycle.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right. Let me pull this guy up.
Got a couple of questions. Let's pull these guys up. Does customization of models require special hardware or GPU for an on-premise setup? Great question, Vijaya. Yes. So if you want to deploy Tabnine on-premise, you will need to acquire appropriate GPUs for your level of usage and consumption. That's something that we have a ton of experience guiding you through. We also have partnerships with NVIDIA, Broadcom, and other large GPU providers, as well as cloud providers, so we can help you source those GPUs that you need, as we understand that that's a pretty big challenge right now, but it's certainly something we can guide you through, and our solutions engineers are super experienced with dealing with that and can walk you through every step of the process. So just reach out to us with our contact us form on tabnine.com, and we can guide you through that. Also wanted to address your other question here from Vijaya. Third-party model, can you bring your own API key, or Tabnine provides that through their backend? So Chris, if you could just go back a couple slides to the model switcher slide. Yeah. So the Tabnine Protected, Tabnine plus Mistral, Anthropic, Cohere, Mistral, and OpenAI models, those are all built into Tabnine. So when you buy a Tabnine Enterprise subscription plan, you get those included. Now, if you have your own models already, you can bring your own API key as well and connect that into Tabnine. So hopefully that answered your question there already.
Okay, back to the application build. Let me pull this up. Apologize in advance for the oh, there we go. All right. So let us start here. Perfect. So first, let's go over the Tabnine UI that folks will interact with in each of the agents that you're going to find along the way. So when you click the or load your IDE, you'll find the Tabnine icon here to the left-hand side. In this case, I'm using VS Code, but we support the entire JetBrains family and VS Studio as well. So what we're looking at right now is Tabnine Chat. And when you click the chat agent here, you'll be able to use everyday language, conversational natural language to type in prompts and queries. At the bottom here, you'll also be able to, you'll see each of these buttons, right? And each button is representative of a different AI agent that we have pre-built to do more of the heavy lifting for end users to reduce prompt engineering. So each of these agents, like an explain code, is great for understanding different code blocks. Explore code base is awesome for onboarding in a new project. It gives you a comprehensive overview, and we'll sort of go through each of these buttons here, but this is the chat. Next to chat, you will find the test agent beaker, and this is where you're able to generate comprehensive test plans for your code, which we will go into later in this demo. Next to that, you'll find a gear icon, and that's where you can enable chat inline completion. So as you're typing within chat, you'll see it'll recognize my intent. You'll also be able to create custom commands, which we'll get to in a second, and then connect to Jira, which is just will take 2 clicks or so, and I'll show you how we do that. The next area that you'll find Tabnine within the IDE here is as you type, you'll see code completions pop up, right? So as I'm saying system settings, you'll see nothing here in the dropdown, but all of this gray here, that's Tabnine, right? So as you're typing in the IDE, Tabnine is going to generate contextually relevant code recommendations. It will automatically recognize your intent. So as you're writing, if you're writing a test, it will autocomplete tests. If you're writing documentation, or in this case, printing out info here for this this program, it recognizes that intent and will continue to do so and generate auto completions for what I'm coding here. The next spot that we're going to go over is the code lens, right? So for when you're in your IDE, you'll notice that in each block of code, you'll see Tabnine, edit, test, fix, explain, document, and ask. And this is the Tabnine code length. It's more of a inline, in-flow way for developers to still get a lot of that same functionality, but here within their actual lines of code. Excuse me. And then the last piece here we'll cover is the quick commands to launch agents, right? So with the MacBook, it is a Command I, and that loads this Tabnine quick commands menu, right? Where you are able to fix code, document code, explain code, and explore code base, all of which will appear here. Well, these two appear in chat, and fix code and document will appear here within your code inline. So let's go through a usual cycle for a software developer, right? Going through each phase of the SDLC, starting with plan. So for this first stage, it's really crucial as a developer to gain an understanding of the project, what the application does, etc. So we're going to be using the Explore Codebase agent, which again is this built-in quick action and Tabnine chat, that users can invoke when starting a new conversation, right? This is an empty slate. This is where you'll see these appear, or by using the code Explorer or typing code Explorer within the Tabnine chat prompt. So we'll show the buttons here. We'll do explore code base. And what this is going to do is return a summary of the project's key elements, including runnable scripts, key dependencies, and overall structure. In addition to the summary, the Code Explorer agent also will suggest follow-up questions, right, about the summary, allowing myself, the developer, to dive further into relevant information based on this current project or task that I'm in. And using this, using the Code Explorer agent, users can really onboard to a new project much faster while reducing the load on their experienced colleagues, right, who are going to spend less time helping out a new teammate onboard and ultimately not resent that interaction sometimes. So we've understood, quickly glossing over this, we know that this is a password generator CLI program. We now know what's in each file and how it ties together. Let's continue on to the next phase of SDLC create, right? So earlier in the session, we briefly talked about our Jira agents, and there's two. There's an implementation and a validation agent. And it takes about 2 clicks to set up. So let me just do this real quick here. We can show you how easy this is. Whoops. Apologies, this usually is connected, but here we go. Awesome, I am all set. So now if I go over here to my ID, Jira board, and just to make sure, Amaya, you can still see this, correct?
Yep, sure can.
Perfect. So you'll see I have a handful of tickets here in my to-do. Now, when I go over here to the IDE and I go back to the chat agent, I can initialize the Jira agents 2 ways, right? I can type in at Jira, at Jira with a colon, and that'll pop up this dropdown. Additionally, I can also just click this button here, and it'll populate this dropdown. Now, it's important to mention that you will not see every ticket on your development team, right? This is going to be specific to the user that is connected into this IDE and connected into Jira, right? So I'm only going to see what is assigned to me as a developer in my queue. So we'll pick one of these. We'll say implement this ticket. Certainly love the positivity that always comes out of Claude. It's one of my favorites. All right. So let's see here. Oh, I clicked it twice. So what we can do then is just take this and we'll head over to the tips, which is going to be here. We can add these in. Whoops. Now we've added in these new rules. Let's validate this ticket or these new, so let's go here. We'll initialize Jira again. We'll say add this ticket and we'll say validate this ticket. Awesome. And you can see here that the ticket is validated. It passes with flying colors. So we're all good to go. But I did notice that there were geez, a handful of red in here. There's a lot of red in this in this one file here. So let's move on to the next step, which is fix, right? We've created new functionality, but I can see there's still errors in my code. So let's dive into this next phase, which is fixing. And what we're going to do is we're going to ask the Tabnine chat agent, and we'll go over here. We'll just say, where are the errors in my project? Okay. There's 2 typos. So, and that's going to be, where do they say they were? The generator.java. Sweet. So we can go over here and then we can just fix this with Tabnine, right? Using the code lens up top. It'll process this request and generate us a change. Perfect. All good to go there. So now that we've just fixed any outstanding errors we've had in this application or in this specific file, let's move to testing, right? So now we're going to pull up the Tabnine testing agent to generate a comprehensive test plan. And you can access this, the testing, through a handful of ways, right? In this case, we're going to be, for this demo, we're going to be using the beaker icon here. But if you do remember from a new, a clean slate here, a clean state from a new conversation, you can generate tests here, as well as generate tests inline as well. But for today, we're going to be generating a test plan here within the Tabnine AI chat window. So let's select the code that we want. In this case, we'll do the entire generator.java. And I do not have a test file. If I did have a test file, you could browse here, and it would click browse, and it'll pop up all of the files within your project. But in this case, we don't currently have one already created, so we will create a new one. And what you'll see here is that the test agent is generating this comprehensive test plan with detailed test cases for each function and method. It will automatically generate these test cases covering a wide variety of testing scenarios, as you can see within the short descriptions here that are in plain English. And this will cover, you can cover everything from, pressure testing your application to unit testing as well, sort of everything in between. So if let's say we like this one, we'll insert this. We'll pick this one as well. We should generate password with all character types. We just select the options. Let's see here. We'll add this one. Now, let's say you have one that you kind of like, but you want to make some changes. Don't worry. This is just the starting point. You can actually go through and modify each additional test that it's been generated, as well as describe a custom test case here to add to the test plan. So there's a lot of freedom and flexibility when it comes to our testing agent. And then you can also validate at the end that you do have a full comprehensive plan that has complete coverage by again using the Tabnine AI chat to validate that.
Hey,
Now,
Chris,
correct.
Yeah, I just got a question from Atul. So he's asking about the Jira agent, the Jira validation agent.
Yeah.
So how does the validation agent really work?
Yeah, the validation agent will it'll go based off of, it'll compare what you've have in your description of your Jira ticket. So in my case, I follow best practices, right? I like to add acceptance criteria because that's what I preferred. In a previous life as a developer, right? I would add acceptance criteria to each of my tickets. So for me, it makes it maybe a little bit easier to identify what I need to create. But Tabnine will look at the description of your Jira tickets and use that in comparison to the code that it's generated to validate that what you have is correct.
Great. And then we had a question from, apologies if I'm saying your name wrong here. People often say mine wrong as well. I'm guessing it's pronounced Fikre. He's asking, you mentioned a Jira integration where code can be generated directly from tickets. Curious about how well this feature works when multiple repositories are involved. Is Tabnine able to identify the correct repositories to target automatically? And does it know where to send each piece of generated code? I'm going to take a stab at this myself, and feel free to add on any additional color here. So the Jira integration, how that works is as Chris showed you. You want to pull up your Jira again?
Yeah.
Great. So I'm just going to hide your questions to make the screen more viewable. So this is our demo instance of Jira. And now, normally there would be a lot more tickets, and there'd be a lot more tickets assigned to multiple users here. In this case, it just has tickets assigned to Chris. But the important thing to note is that when you set up the Jira integration, Tabnine automatically understands what user has connected to Jira. So when you're then referencing specific Jira tickets inside Tabnine, it's only giving you access to the Jira tickets that are assigned specifically to you. And then kind of a two-part question here. So the next question you had was about multiple repositories involved. So I think I'm gonna wait for Chris to get to the code-based connection part of the demo here. That's really where you'll see that. But in the Tabnine admin panel, you can connect specific repositories and enable them for specific users and teams in your organization. And the way you're able to target repositories for Tabnine is they're using the app mentions capability in Tabnine chat. So all you have to do is once the repos are integrated and connected into Tabnine, just use @ to reference specific repos that you want Tabnine to prioritize for drawing context from. And it's going to know which repository to use. And then within the repo itself, it's automatically going to prioritize and stack rank the available context and data in that repo to match the local context of what you're working on, as well as looking at things like if you're working on a Jira ticket that's associated with the repo, as well as looking at things like your chat history with the Tabnine chat. To draw additional context. So it's always trying to figure out what the best response or recommendation is that fits your unique needs every single time. So that's how that works. And the question on does it know where to send each piece of generated code? So that would happen in your pull request, right? And when you're actually pushing code into production. So that's where the code review agent can help and shine there. So.
Okay, so I'm gonna bring us back.
Yeah, back to our test agent here.
The test agent demo. So just so we're on the same page, we've created this comprehensive test plan, and we validated that we have, full coverage here, from unit testing to pressure testing. So the last bit now would be we've added new functionality. We've validated that it works. We've tested it. We created a test plan to make sure we have that coverage there, that it does actually work correctly. And then now the last bit would be to document, right? To generate some documentation. So let's look here. And we'll use the code lens. Now, what you can do is you can click this. You can say generate documentation. It'll process your request up top. And once it does generate, it's just taking its sweet time because it is a relatively larger block of code here. Personal preference, I don't love comments up at the top. Some people do, I don't. So what we can do here is we can refine each of these inline requests, right? Just by clicking this refine here or hitting Alt F. And what we'll say is generate documentation to the right of each line, because that's my personal preference. And I want to make sure, following best practices, that when I come in here again, or if anyone were to pick this up, that's not me, that they fully understand what each block of code does and what's going on here within my program. So it is, I should have picked a smaller block, but here we are. Perfect. Now has comments explaining each line by line what is going on. And that's what we want. Perfect. Okay. So moving on to the next piece. Now we've documented. The last leg is to maintain this file or this project, right? You'll want to continuously improve your applications, and Tabnine can be a really, really good source of ideas for you to do that. So what I'll do here is I will ask Tabnine chat to give me, let's see, generate 10 ideas to improve the security and functionality of this password generator. Hit tab because we do have the auto completions turned on in chat. What this will do is generate 10 new ideas on how I can improve this. It will also give me code snippets as well. And then I can go back in, take these code snippets. I can even ask Tabnine chat to create validation. So we talk about the Jira implementation, right? A trick that I like to use, or sort of like my little prompt engineering trick I use here, is I'll then ask a follow-up question to generate acceptance criteria for Jira tickets for each of these, right? So generate acceptance criteria for each of the improvements mentioned above. And then it's a rinse and repeat, right? So we'll go through the same motion of creating Jira tickets using the new requirement, or the new suggestions or improvements, as well as then using the acceptance criteria within the description as well, which will then sort of act as a 1-2 punch to really make it seamless and smooth when implementing these tickets. But again, Tabnine does a great job at reading the description and being able to understand that, implement a proper ticket, and then actually generate the correct code and prove that through validation. So then the last piece I do want to cover, just because I know we talked about it previously, workspace indexing. So this is where you're able to toggle it on and off as a user. Toggling it on will, as you can see here, Tabnine chat will consider your project, current file, packages, etc. As context for these chat responses. And you can just toggle it on and off. Very easy. Okay, so that is the end of the demo here. Let me stop.
Hey, Chris, just we got a demo request here from Simon.
Yeah.
He's asking, can Tabnine generate markdown.md files for the code specifically for user guides? And if yes, can you share that? So Simon, actually, this is the first time anyone's ever asked us to do that. So we're not sure ourselves. So we're gonna just give it a go here in the Tabnine chat and ask it to generate a markdown.md file from this generator.java test. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it does.
From the test file, or you said just a generator, or the
Probably the generator file. Yeah.
From the you know what, let's use another functionality here. We can and write generator, and you can reference any of your files in your project. So let's do that. Create a markdown MD file, generator.java. Oh, it's thinking. Oh yeah.
Alrighty.
It's the
Oh, that's cool.
yeah, it is. It's pretty cool.
All right. Well, there you go, Simon. Is that what you're looking for here? Let us know in the chat. Another question here from Paul. He's using GitHub Copilot, but always interested in looking at alternatives. What would we say are the key differentiators between Tabnine and GitHub Copilot? I'll take a pass at this again as well, Chris, and then please add on any additional color that you think I missed. So going back to the start of this presentation, private, personalized, and protected, right? So the first one is regardless of how you're using Tabnine, the default is always that Tabnine never trains on your code or data. So we're completely private. Second, you can deploy this air-gapped on-premise, which I don't believe you can do with Copilot today. The third differentiator is our personalization. So GitHub Copilot also now offers workspace indexing. However, we offer our code-based connection that includes connections into Atlassian Bitbucket, GitHub, and GitLab, and we're also expanding that to additional types of repos in the future. GitHub Copilot also does not have a Jira integration as of yet, so you get that with Tabnine as we showed you. The third is our switchable models. So GitHub Copilot did recently release support for a couple of different models. We have far more models available to you today, and we're going to continue to have more than GitHub Copilot in the future. And then third, with the switchable models, with Tabnine, if you have your own API endpoint for an LLM, whether that's a third-party LLM or it's one that you've built internally, you can connect that to power Tabnine Chat, so we have better model flexibility. And then finally, we have far more AI agents built into our code assistant. So, for example, with the agents Chris showed you earlier, I don't believe GitHub Copilot today has a testing agent like we do. And the code review agent, we don't have enough time here yet left today to demo that one, but GitHub Copilot certainly does not have a code review agent that is fully customizable and programmable to your unique code review standards and organizational criteria. We have that. You can set those criteria and rules just using simple natural language in a plain text document. And then the last point of differentiation is model customization and fine tuning. So let's say you are working in an industry like hardware engineering and you're writing a lot of system Verilog code. One thing you'll notice with pretty much all the LLMs available today is they don't really support that very well. And that's because there's not a lot of that code available to train on. Or let's say you're at a large financial institution and the type of software that you guys are writing isn't really well documented in open source. So these types of use cases are some of our biggest enterprise customers in aerospace, defense, semiconductor manufacturing, as well as investment banking. And they really benefit from having a custom, private, fine-tuned model of an AI code assistant that knows exactly how their organization writes code in their code bases and has language support for their specific languages. So I'd say it's better personalization, better UX, more model support, more flexibility. Basically, we give you full control of your AI coding assistant to configure and use exactly in the way that you in your organization would like to.
And then there's one other piece I'd like to don't want to feel like we're just you're all jumping on the train and beating them down, but there are a couple of things I want to bring up as well. And you might have covered them in the beginning a little bit here when you started answering this question, but one that I think a big one is data privacy, like you said, data retention. Your prompts and suggestions with GitHub Copilot are retained for 28 days. And that's for their, all of their tiers. Tabnine takes a completely different approach and offers, like Amaya said, a zero data retention policy. When using the Tabnine proprietary models, we don't store any customer code, don't share customer code or usage data with third parties, and don't use customer code to train our models. That's a big one. Another thing is deployment options, right? The GitHub Copilot is offered as a SaaS product and requires active internet connection to facilitate that data transmission between IDE and Azure. And that can often be a huge deal breaker for privacy conscious enterprises, especially in those highly regulated environments, as the ones Amaya just discussed, right? So Tabnine offers customers numerous deployment options, right? Customers can consume Tabnine as a secure SaaS offering in a multi-tenant or single-tenant environment, or do a fully private on-premise or VPC to ensure that their code stays in the boundaries of their corporate network and isn't shared with any external party. And then the last piece, just on that data privacy section, because that's where I have spent a lot of time previously in my career, is sort of the DevSecOps side of the house. Security and compliance. SOC 2 compliance is a must-have for AI code assistance, as it ensures the product is taking proper security measures. And GitHub Copilot is SOC 2 Type 1 compliant, but lacks the more critical SOC 2 Type 2 compliance. As SOC 2 Type 2 compliance examines how well the product security controls perform over a prolonged period of time, as compared to the Type 1 compliance that evaluates security controls at a single point in time. So Tabnine offers compliances like SOC 2 Type 2, GDPR, and ISO 9001 to ensure that security and privacy of your data. That's the last little bit that I just wanted to add in there.
Yeah, thanks for adding that on. Do you want to pull the demo screen back up here, actually?
Yeah, absolutely.
Got a question from Vijaya. Can Tabnine identify OWASP related gaps in the code? So while you're pulling up the demo environment here, Jay, I think if you're looking to identify specific issues with code or security issues or things of that nature, code quality issues, if you have guidance or rules or aligned to OWASP gaps in your code that you enforce in code review manually today, what you can do with Tabnine is write those rules into the code review agent and tell it to look for OWASP related gaps in the code during code review, and then change and fix those gaps. Granted, this is the first time I've ever heard of OWASP.
The OWASP.
OWASP, thank you.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. OWASP is a really awesome open source nonprofit. It's sort of, they produce like a lot of thought leadership articles and methodologies and documentation on sort of IoT, system software, web application security. They are like a source of truth for a lot of security thinking individuals in the tech space, is a good way to put it.
Oh, nice. So I know we're working on adding in rules pre-built into Tabnine's code review agent, and we're partnering with several different security organizations, as well as security tool providers to generate those rule sets. So we'll definitely look into OWASP to pull in rules from there as well. But maybe we could, you want to try plugging it into chat and seeing if it can identify OWASP gaps in the generator Java file.
You identify, let's see here. Identify. Let's see here. Considering OWASP Let's do top 10.
Yeah, and then let's do the maybe throw in an at mention on the generator.java file, so it's specifically looking at that.
Make recommendations for at generator.java improve security.
There you go.
It's always awesome when it works.
Yeah, this is probably my favorite thing about demoing Tabnine live with folks such as yourselves. It's the great questions. I learn something new about what the tool can do every time I do it.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Great. Next question: can we create an AI agent of our own, custom with company-specific skills, and allow it to collab? I think so we don't have like a feature right now for you to create custom AI agents. The AI agents that we do offer are the reason why we even built them in the first place is to take the heavy lifting of prompt engineering off your plate. Because let's look at it, right? Like you guys are software engineers. You're not prompt engineers. You shouldn't have to go download a ChatGPT prompting guide to be able to use an AI code assistant effectively. To just understand and know what you want immediately. So that's why we focused our AI coding assistants, AI agents, on specific software development lifecycle use cases and stages and steps. So that really simplifies using the AI effectively. As far as creating like custom agents, we don't offer that, but remember you're connecting Tabnine to your global code bases, to Jira. Perhaps you're doing model fine tuning if you're an on-premise enterprise customer. You've got local workspace indexing. So the code that it's generating is already super relevant to your unique standards and approaches to software development at your company. If you have like a more specific question around AI agents, we're happy to answer that. But could also be a great question for our solution engineering team that can guide you through kind of how to most effectively use AI agents to get the company specific skill that you're really looking for it to implement. And then I think the last point here is, again, I'm going to touch on the code review agent here, right? That's really where you're going to have the most configuration for company specific skills, if you will. So like the OWASP gap, for example, if you always want Tabnine to write code that adheres to OWASP principles, you can set that as a guideline in code review, and it'll make sure all of your code adheres to those by suggesting fixes that align to that prior to it being actually accepted through the pull request.
Would it be helpful if I quickly showed the code review agent?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, I can do that. So let me start here. We'll start here with the rules interface, right? And this is where, as a user, you can see all of the predefined rules by Tabnine, as well as rules that align with your unique standards. This is where they'll be stored. Tabnine Enterprise currently comes with a standard set of rules that we have gathered, evaluated, and implemented based on software development best practices from those leading voices in our space. But within the rules interface, you can visualize, fine-tune rule sets, allow you to view good and customize, good and bad examples of those rules, determine which is public and on by default, so on and so forth. Additionally, users can filter rules by severity, language, email, and ID. When it comes to adding new rules, all you need to do as a customer user is send us a rule and plain description, just a natural language, just a simple description, something like this, and we take care of the rest. Tabnine will ingest and create and enrich each rule, adding elaborate descriptions, good and bad coding examples, etc. and for users to ultimately to get to the self-service point where you will be adding your own rules. And it is incredibly simple, just dropping a JSON file, determining which language you want it to apply to, and what type of rule is it. Does it apply to specific users, or does it apply to the entire organization? Now, on the flip side, all of which, by the way, this can be configured post generation. So once you import these, it's not like they're locked in place for forever and you can't customize them. So when it comes to that developer flow that we were talking about, when you do go to, let's say you're reviewing a PR, right, you'll see that based on when a developer makes a PR MR, Tabnine reviews the code, excuse me, in the PR MR against your rules, flags deviations, and offers suggestions to fix that code. So you can see that, let's see here, replace print statements with Python's logging module, which provides more flexibility for controlling logs and level formats. This is the code that has been flagged, and this is the suggested revised version. And you'll see for each of these, it will catch and flag anything that goes outside of your standards, as well as, like I said, offering that suggestion. Great example, actually. A common mistake, unfortunately, that a lot of junior devs make is hard coding sensitive information, such as API keys and passwords. Big no-no. We're happy that we caught it here in the PR. This is awesome. And that's exactly what you want to catch. And then at the end, it'll also give you a report as well that gives you a high-level summary of what was found, how many critical issues, errors, warnings, and suggestions. So yeah, that is the code agent. And I just want to, or the code review agent, just want to touch on something really quickly because I know that I forgot to talk about it at the end of the demo because we were having so much fun. This is the Tabnine admin panel. Now, in this specific one is for self-hosted, but just want to give you a quick overview that you'll see here. There are high-level analytics getting more granular as you go down, getting further and further into user activity, right? So we can see which chat, which chat models are the most used and which ones are actually, producing the best content for my specific organization. You can also keep tabs on users, how often they're using it, if they're using the chats, and sort of the breadth of their use there. Also, this is just another great visualization to, if you're onboarding a new organization or you're adding new folks, this is a great way to track that everyone is actually onboarded and in their chair. And then this last section here, the settings section, a couple of things. One, this is where as an administrator, you're able to configure single sign-on. You're also able to, excuse me, enable Tabnine context, enable Jira connection, and most importantly, well, all equally important, but very big one, link external code repositories. It takes a couple minutes, if that, to link your external code repositories. For this demo, I just have my password generator one here linked, but you can add as many as you'd like under there. And then this is the last section here. As an administrator, when in this panel, you have the ability and control to determine which models are available to your organization. It is as simple as toggling on or off. Well, I'm not sure why this one's not toggling on and off. Just might be an issue with my screen here. But these sliders just toggle it on and off and give you, that allows you to set the ability of what's available to your development organization. And that is it from the admin panel. Okay, so we've covered the entire SDLC and how Tabnine interacts from start to finish, right through that planning and creation to testing and fixing and documenting and maintaining. We've covered the code review agent and now the admin panel. I think we are done with the live demo portion of this session. Let's see here.
So another question from Vijaya. Is there any inbuilt mechanism to avoid hallucinations? So when you're thinking about AI hallucinations, Vijaya, really the source of that is from the LLM not having enough context or knowledge about exactly what you're working on, right? Because that's where it's coming from. And then secondly, really you'll see hallucinations from LLMs when you're doing kind of broader use case and using broader use case LLMs like ChatGPT or a Gemini inside their non-AI code assistant use cases, right? So with Tabnine, specifically with our models, there isn't really like hallucinations aren't really a concern that we've seen from our customers, and there's a couple of reasons for that. One is all of our models are specifically built to only do one thing, and that is software development and software development related tasks, right? So you can't ask Tabnine to like write you a sonnet or come up with a short story to read to your kids for bedtime, and that's intentional. We wanted it to really be the best AI coding assistant, specifically the best LLM for software engineering. So that helps with hallucinations right off the bat. And then secondly, all the different sources of organizational context that we're connecting a Tabnine to, that helps ensure that the code recommendations that it's generating are actually accurate and relevant. And the third way we kind of safeguard you against hallucinations is because we help with every single step of the software development lifecycle. Let's say you do get a piece of code that's a quote unquote hallucination from an LLM. Well, okay, you've generated the code, you've applied and inserted it, but now you're going to actually see if it's running or not, right? And that's where our testing agent and our fixed code agent is going to come into play. So the AI agents themselves act as safeguards against hallucinations, as well as the standard software development lifecycle process that you're following, because you're not going to ship code that doesn't actually work. And finally, of course, the code review agent, that's another safeguard where we're going to catch and improve code quality and security in the actual code review itself. So it's not really a concern that we've seen or experienced with our Tabnine Enterprise or Pro customers.
Oh yeah, I just think really like I've Sony's used it a lot. I can't think of one, truthfully, one hallucination that I've truly seen. And I think that's a lot of it's just due to our context, right, and the level of which we provide that. If you remember those, the slide Amaya was discussing earlier in the presentation, those 4 levels, that's, I think, really, it's really unique to us and really helps us avoid those fears or the issues of having hallucinations. The other bit I think that really helps is the those pre-built agents, right? The documentation or the explore code or the fix code, all of those, when you have something that's sort of been pre-created like that, we've done a lot of the advanced heavy lifting prompting in the back end to make it the model to guide the model to better understand the task and the desired output. So also why you will not see as really hallucinations aren't an issue with Tabnine, because we've done a lot of that work pre-hand to make sure that the end user has just a really positive, enjoyable experience.
And then another question from Vijaya, is fine tuning an existing agent possible? For example, the test agent and what language it should write tests in. So I'm gonna come back to this personalization slide again here. It's, as you can tell, it's our biggest differentiator here, and we love talking about it. But yeah, so let's say you're running the test agent, right, Vijaya? And it's gonna know what language it's generating a testing plan and test cases for just through the local IDE context, right? And let's say you've now layered on code base connection, right? And you're at referencing a specific code base in addition to what you're working on in your IDE. Now it's got even more personalization and context built into the test cases and test plan that it's generating. Um, when we're talking specifically about the phrase fine tuning, the fine tuning and model customization applies to the Tabnine code completions model. So if you remember from the demo earlier, Chris was showing how Tabnine generates those inline code completions and full blocks of code and full function completions directly in your IDE. That's where the model fine tuning occurs, and that's where you'd get basically a Tabnine code completions model that's written for a specific language that your organization's working on, or a specific set of libraries that are unique to your organization, or specific, like a golden repo is what we like to call it, which is really your best most performant code at your organization. If you got 3 million lines of that, we're going to fine tune and create a code completions model based on that code. And we're thinking about personalization on the AI chat agents. That's where the AI chat agents grab personalization from local IDE context, code base connection, and Jira integration, as well as coaching in the code review agent. So, and when you think about this personalization, remember it's progressive, right? So if you see on this graph here, we've kind of drawn together impact to optimization. You're going to see the biggest initial lift from local IDE context, followed by connection, and then marginal lifts in acceptance rates and optimization from coaching and customization from there. So as you're layering on more and more relevant sources of personalization, you're, in a sense, you could say you are fine tuning the existing AI agents already through that. However, it is super important, and I want to be really clear about this, that the model fine tuning and training and customization that I alluded to earlier, that happens on the code completions model only right now, not on the AI chat model. But you really shouldn't need it on the AI chat model anyways, because you're doing specific things with that, and you're already referencing and connecting into the same code bases that we're training on for code completions. Anything you want to add on to that, Chris?
No, I think that really covers it well.
Cool. All right, let's go back to what's new in Tabnine. Do you remember what slide number that was? I think 21.
There we go. Okay, yeah. So we covered the code review agent, but that came out as of
last week.
Late. Right? Yeah, I want to say the 29th of. Is that right? Oh yeah, maybe I think it did actually come out the 29th of October. So we did give you guys we went over that. We went over the AI agents to validate and implement Jira tickets. That's a really cool one, and I think it's worth mentioning that we are now the first AI code assistant to offer that integration with Jira, and the first to offer a complete issue to code AI agent. And I think that's really big because it represents a step change in how developers are using AI in software development, right? With the ability now to accomplish these macro level tasks using Tabnine with a single click, and can directly ask Tabnine to implement a story, bug, ticket, task, subtask. There's like no longer that need to decipher these requirements in Jira, break it down into tasks, and feed specific prompts right into an AI chat window. You saw today that it's incredibly simple, 2 clicks to get it to connect, and a couple clicks and a couple words to get it to validate and implement, which is huge. And then the
So,
last, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No.
I was just gonna say the last bit I'll talk about here on this slide is inline actions, right? And we saw some of those with the accept response, the change response, right? But really just something we believe in pretty heavily here is, clearly making the developers' lives easier and more enjoyable. And part of that comes with keeping you all in that flow state, right? Whenever you're coding and you're writing, you're programming, you're in that in the zone, if you will. We don't want to take you out of it, right? So that's where you see something like inline actions, these functionalities and quick commands that are nested inline as you type. That's just, again, bolstering our stance on really wanting to make your lives easier, simpler, more efficient, and more enjoyable.
Yeah, so question from Atul, is there a throttle limit for the numbers of prompts for a subscription? So on Tabnine Enterprise, no throttle limit. On Tabnine Pro, no throttle limit. On our completely free plan, Tabnine Basic or Tabnine Starter, I believe it's called, that there's a limit on the number of prompts you could do there, but that's because you don't even have to sign up with your email or anything to use the basic version. You could just directly install that from the IDE marketplace. However, I would recommend, if you're going to try Tabnine, to at least sign up for the Tabnine 90-day free trial of Pro. That's where you're going to get a better understanding of the capabilities versus the free edition. Don't want to get too far ahead of myself here, but we do have some pretty exciting new updates coming to our plans and tiers that we're offering that are going to make us a no-brainer in terms of price point, as well as flexibility for the way you want to use and adopt Tabnine. So stay tuned for that, because that is going to be pretty exciting. Cool.
Let's see here.
Oh yeah, also should probably say, if even on the Tabnine Pro plan, you and the free trial on Pro, you get full access to all of our AI agents, with the exception of the code review agent, which is only for Tabnine Enterprise customers right now. And of course, with Tabnine Pro currently, you do not have code-based connections being offered. That's not in GA yet, but that will be coming pretty soon. So stay tuned for that. Yeah, and then of course on Tabnine Pro, there isn't the option to do model fine tuning or customization, the highest level of personalization that we offer today. That's only for Tabnine Enterprise customers, but that's because you'll need a GPU to run the fine tuned model and train the model on your data, and that is pretty difficult to do over SaaS without incurring a significant amount of cost for us to do that for all of our. How many downloads do we have on? I think we've got like 9 million on VS Code alone on our free product. So
it's a lot. It's a lot of money. Yeah. Well, we've sort of been doing this QA the entire time, but if there's any other questions, any final questions, we can if there's not any final questions, we can wrap things up.
Yeah, and while you guys are thinking about those, Chris, something you stated earlier, I don't want to toot our own horn here too much, but we are the originator of the AI coding assistant category. We launched our first AI code completions model in 2017. We were the first to offer switchable models as well, which we launched in January of this year. First to offer local context awareness, first to offer code-based connection, first to create testing and AI agents, and that also the first and only AI coding assistant so far that completely exposes the training data for our proprietary underlying models, Tabnine protected, that we've developed in-house, that you can review and download and take a look at yourself on our Trust Center. We're also the first to offer on-premise deployments and air-gapped deployments of an AI code assistant. And really, if you're going to go with Tabnine, just know that you're going with the company that's been doing this the longest. We're at the forefront of innovation here, and our number one priority is Oh, great. Another comment here. Number one priority is creating an AI code assistant that's personalized and tailored to your teams, to your workflow, and that lives where you work. And it really acts as another pair of hands and almost like a pair programmer for every single one of your software developers on your team. Awesome product. Also one that I can use, Claude 3.5 Sonnet with VS Code is really great. Yeah. We love Claude 3.5 Sonnet here as well. It's a great LLM. Great. So that's it then for Tabnine office hours today. If you want to get started with Tabnine, a couple ways to do that. If you just want to try out Tabnine Pro yourself, just visit our website and sign up for a free 90-day trial of Tabnine Pro. Also, stay on the lookout for Cyber Monday. We're going to be announcing a new pricing plan, as well as offering a massive, I believe, a 50% off discount on an annual subscription to that plan for the entire week of Cyber Monday. And then if you're interested in evaluating Tabnine Enterprise with your engineering team, just go ahead and visit our website. Our SDRs will pop up on a chat window, so you can just talk to one of them to get that scheduled and get that conversation going, or alternatively, just fill out our contact us form and someone will reach out immediately to schedule time with you to discuss that. Thanks for joining us today, and thanks for all the great questions. Last thing I wanted to announce is that we're working on launching a Discord community, so stay tuned for updates on that. And that's really going to be a great way for you guys to interact with other Tabnine users, talk to Adrian, our principal product evangelist, and get a chance to win some fun swag like our Tabnine t-shirts and stuff. We've got some. If you're metal fans, we've got some cool stuff that we do there with the Iron Maiden logo looking t-shirts of Tabnine and stuff like that.
Who wouldn't want to join a community with the three of us in it? You get to talk to us all day.
Yeah, if you're not sick of me and Chris by now after an hour and a half, we're probably going to get along. And then last couple of things I wanted to let you guys know about. Tabnine office hours. This happens every Wednesday, 7 a.m. PT or 10:30 a.m. PT, alternating every week to accommodate European and North American time zones. Every Tuesday, our principal product evangelist, Adrian Howard, goes live on Tabnine Labs, and that's where he will build an entire application with no prep work beforehand from scratch. I think the recent one he did before he went to Japan was with Cloudflare, where they built an app to count and rate your Halloween candy haul. So check that out on our YouTube channel. But tune in for those anytime you like, and you can learn more about how to use Tabnine and interact with them there. And every 2 to 3 weeks on Thursday mornings, we do Tabnine Live, where we'll do deep dives into new product capabilities, as well as showcase how Tabnine works alongside third-party tools and partners. So we've done one with Coder. We're going to do one with Sneak in the future. We've also done one with Circle CI, showing how we work alongside CI/CD tools. And we do them regularly with other LLM providers like Anthropic and Cohere as well. Great. Thanks, Vikram. Thanks for joining us. Thank you for joining us, Vijaya. All righty. There's no other questions then. We'll wrap this up. We've enjoyed spending some time with you all today, and thank you again for all the great questions.
Yeah, thank you very much for joining today. Have a good day. Have a good week.